Will the financial system in the future US include XRP and Ripple? This is all I know about the US financial system. Therefore, by the time you finish this video, you will be an expert on it. That's a question that keeps coming up. Okay, so America's supremacy in digital financial technology is being reinforced by the new financial system, was a requote on Paul Barron's poster, Why XRP Will Replace Traditional Finance in the Next Few Years, just a counterparty-free asset. Behind the scenes, Bridge Asset Routing handles all deals, each and every stablecoin. XRP consumption is automatically increased by real-world assets, blockchain apps and banks, on-chain plus lending, instantaneous XRP in the center together with money movement. Okay, so these are some of the links between Ripple and the US's intentions to modernize its financial system that we are certain of, similar to what matters to them. Is this similar to XRP? We're going to talk about that right now. So there was an executive order. Recent executive orders under Trump administration established clear policy aims. The U.S. wants to ensure the sovereignty of the U.S. dollar by encouraging the global adoption of lawful-backed dollar stablecoins, encouraging responsible growth and use of digital assets and blockchain technology, requiring fair and open banking access for law-abiding individuals and digital asset businesses, effectively ending debanking practices like Operation Choke Point 2.0, and providing regulatory clarity through technology-neutral regulations and frameworks created for emerging blockchain technology. Additionally, a new working group comprising the Treasury, Justice, Commerce, Homeland Security, and other agencies was established to audit and reform all current regulations and guidance affecting the digital asset sector. It also proposed new criteria such as plans for a national digital asset stockpile that could include seized cryptocurrencies, and suggested streamlined registration and regulatory procedures for banks, crypto custodians, and stablecoin issuers. Furthermore, a President's Working Group on Digital Assets was established. The topic that keeps coming up repeatedly is whether or not the U.S. will purchase American cryptocurrencies like XRP and Solana, for example XLM, Chainlink, etc. The issue here is that you don't have the power of the purse when the president issues executive orders. If you want to purchase anything with government funds, even cryptocurrency, you have to go via the Senate and Congress, right? Thus, the only option is to seize cryptocurrency. For example, if the United States breaks into someone's home for committing a crime and they have cryptocurrency flash drives, they can access them and discover that they include Bitcoin, XRP, and other cryptocurrency. The United States will own that if they confiscate it. As of right now, it is the only method the U.S. will be able to obtain these cryptocurrency assets, aside from what they are attempting to accomplish by passing the Bitcoin Reserve Act, which will solely concentrate on Bitcoin. I believe that the goal of this was to encourage American innovation, but it won't concentrate on American cryptos. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for us making some progress here, but I don't think our main goal is to make a few billionaires further richer. I would rather to spend 10, 50, or $100 billion in XRB, Solana, ADA, and Chainlink. All things considered level the playing field but encourage the American businesses developing in this area. We don't know if something will be valuable in the future, so we shouldn't promote it. I understand why there is so much FUD surrounding Bitcoin. As long as people believe in Bitcoin, it will succeed. It serves as a store of value. A store of value can only remain a store of value if its customers think it is. Thus, there are a few fissures. Additionally, quantum computing is on the horizon, and many people are beginning to ask, what was Bitcoin if it didn't fit the thesis here with quantum computing? The CEO of VanEck, right? He recently stated on the air that if nothing is done about Bitcoin, then it may alter their thesis. Therefore, the system has flaws. That's the reason I'm concerned. Why would the United States invest in something that might collapse? This explains why American invention is so well liked. Alright, let's return to this. That's where we went off course. Oh my god. Alright, so we discussed stable currencies and banking payments for the working group. Banks are urged to provide custody tokenization services, stablecoin issuing, and basic digital asset activity. A federal regulatory framework for stablecoins is established by the Genius Act of July 2025, which aims to improve the American payment system and further integrate the US dollar into the world's financial system. While avoiding central bank digital currency for the time being, federal payments are gradually becoming fully digitalized, improving efficiency and security. This is one of the more fascinating aspects of it. Strategic assets come next, of course. I just went over everything in detail with you. You don't require any other details. Innovation and regulatory realignment. To create a consistent innovation-oriented strategy, major reforms are being implemented across the SEC and CFTC, banking regulators, and payment system operators. The SEC and CFTC are more interconnected than they have ever been. The Trump administration is to blame for it. In order to advance policy, they've done a great job of uniting these two regulators. That has been genuinely amazing. It's wonderful to see that. The use of blockchain for financial record keeping, bundled trading and custody for cryptocurrency firms, and specific White House advising roles for AI and cryptos are among the recommendations. David Sachs, I'm not overly impressed with David Sachs. 11 months have passed. The amount of cryptocurrency in the US is unknown to us. I'm not even sure whether they are aware of their cryptocurrency holdings. There are numerous examples such as the fact that every state and city has its own police force, and you're trying to figure out who owns what. Additionally, it's sort of clueless unless there are individuals working together. David Sachs goes out with his buddies and they discuss many topics including Bitcoin. Man, I have no idea. He could be doing a lot more in my opinion. That's precisely what I think. If you think David Sachs is doing a fantastic job, please let me know. I don't know. Okay. Widespread stablecoin adoption is given top priority in order to maintain the US dollar's position as the world's reserve currency. According to the administration, innovation in digital banking is essential for market inclusion, economic growth, and global influence. Alright, so that's what this is all about. Alright, there are a few significant elements that stand out when we examine what Paul Barron is stating. As soon as I read this, my immediate thought is what can compete against Ripple and XRP in the US right now. Since the government has never been very good at developing technology, they need partners if the US is to move toward this infrastructure. This is because they are unable to invest tens of millions of dollars or more on the smartest and brightest individuals. A government pay is a government salary. Let's face it. As a result, private companies are typically the ones who innovate, much like ripples in the global economy. What comes to mind here then, if the US was seeking a business partner? Several of the statements made here caught my attention. Only a counterparty risk-free asset. We are investigating that. Bridge asset channeling all trades behind the scenes. Every additional stablecoin reward asset rises. In order to better understand what I stated, I wanted to look at it. Are there any other cryptocurrency assets such as XRP that are bridge assets with an expanding tokenization ecosystem and no counterparty risk? And this is essentially what it says. Therefore, there is no counterparty risk when the claims are broken down. Is made to be a native token on the XRP ledger, which means that when it is stored on-chain rather than through exchanges or custodians, it doesn't depend on issuers or middlemen. Bitcoin is the only other significant cryptocurrency with a comparable structure that, when self-custodian, also has no counterparty risk. There is some counterparty risk associated with the majority of stablecoins, tokenized assets, and wrapped tokens. So allow me to pose this query to you. Will the XRP ledger or the Bitcoin blockchain be used if the United States wishes to develop a new financial system on blockchain rails? Answering that query isn't really necessary. Isn't that a bit of a rhetorical question? Nobody is actually building on Bitcoin. It moves too slowly. It's too expensive. Additionally, it would take centuries to complete hundreds of millions of Bitcoin transactions every day. Simply put, it's not feasible. When is the last time someone stated to you there's a pretty fascinating tokenization going on the Bitcoin blockchain, right? The Bitcoin blockchain is seeing the introduction of some extremely cool new stablecoins. That's not happening. Therefore, you don't hear it. Bridge asset functionality is correct. XRP was created as a quick and affordable way to move money between blockchains and various fiat currencies. The primary rival in this market is Stellar XLM, which is specifically made for cross-border payments and access at Bridge Asset. Since Trump took office, I haven't seen Stellar on any guest lists when I look at who has been invited to the White House in the last 12 months, have you? Brad has, I believe, had 4 invitations to the White House. Stellar's name is unfamiliar to me. Therefore, while XLM is a rival in the bridge asset market, they are not present at the necessary meetings. You recall that the US and the UK were working on a transatlantic collaboration for digital assets and other things when